As Earth's unrelenting fury shakes the Galactic Council, the sleek, crystalline ships of the Galactic Council entered Earth's atmosphere without warning, landing on the sprawling lawn of the United Nations headquarters. From them emerged beings of various forms, some insectoid, others vaguely humanoid, but all bearing the unmistakable confidence of technological superiority. Ambassador Tai-Ho stepped forward as Earth's representative, his weathered face betraying none of the anxiety that gripped humanity at this first contact. "Welcome to Earth," he said, extending a hand that remained unshaken. The council leader, a tall being with iridescent skin who called himself High Counselor Vex, barely acknowledged the gesture. "Your planet has been catalogued and will now enter the assimilation process," Vex announced, his translator device giving his words an unsettling metallic quality. "Your resources will serve the greater good of advanced civilizations." Tai-Ho's diplomatic smile faded. "We wish to discuss terms of alliance, not submission." The aliens exchanged glances that resembled amusement. "Primitive species do not negotiate," Vex replied. "They adapt or perish." Within hours, news of the encounter spread across Earth. In her lab at Seoul National University, Dr. Soo-Jin watched the footage with growing concern. As one of Earth's leading xenobiologists, she had long prepared for this moment, but the reality was far more troubling than she had imagined. "They're not here to share knowledge," she told her colleague, Dr. Ho-Jin. "They're here to take the..." Next day, representatives from the Galactic Council demanded a meeting with Earth's most influential leaders. In a grand chamber at the UN, creatures from 12 different worlds sat across from nervous human delegates. Vex stood at the center, his voice echoing through the room. "The Galactic Council has existed for 50,000 years. We have brought order to 300 systems. Your planet is but a speck, yet you possess resources valuable to truly advanced beings." President Min-Soo rose from her seat. "Earth is not for sale or taking. We are not your subjects." A ripple of what seemed like laughter moved through the alien delegates. "You misunderstand," said a squid-like being named Counselor Trax. "This is not a negotiation. We inform you out of courtesy before we begin extraction." The meeting ended in stunned silence. Within days, massive ships appeared in orbit. They were different from the diplomatic vessels. Larger, angular, clearly designed for industrial purposes. In his office at the Global Defense Initiative, General Jun Ho watched the ships with mounting dread. "They're positioning for resource extraction," he told his staff. "The diplomatic approach has failed." The first harvester descended over Western Australia, its massive shadow covering hundreds of square kilometers. Without warning or further communication, it began operations, extracting rare minerals with technology far beyond human understanding. The Australian government's protests were met with silence. When local military forces attempted to approach the harvester, they were disabled by some invisible force that shut down all electronics within 10 kilometers. Emergency meetings were held in every major capital. In Beijing, Tokyo, Washington, and Moscow, leaders argued over how to respond to a threat they could not hope to match technologically. Tai-Ho, now working around the clock with an international team, proposed a unified message. Earth would not surrender its sovereignty without resistance. "We need time," said Dr. Soo-Jin, who had joined the crisis team. "Their technology is beyond us, but they don't understand humans. That might be our only advantage." When a second harvester descended over Brazil's mineral-rich regions, the response was immediate but measured. Earth's combined scientific minds had worked out a plan. Rather than attacking directly, they deployed observation drones to gather data on the alien technology. When the Council discovered these drones, their response was swift and brutal. An energy beam from orbit destroyed a research facility in Rio, killing dozens of scientists. The message was clear. Resistance would not be tolerated, yet instead of cowering, humanity's resolve hardened. In underground facilities across the globe, scientists began working on reverse engineering the small pieces of alien technology they had managed to recover. "They think we'll break," said Tai-Ho to a somber gathering of world leaders. "They don't," Understand that humans have faced extinction before. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own worst impulses. We will not surrender our home. The Council, believing their show of force would end all resistance, continued their operations. With arrogant efficiency, they did not notice the small teams of human scientists observing their every move, or the global network forming to share information about the invaders. They had no idea that humanity's greatest strength was about to reveal itself. The unrelenting fury of a species with its back against the wall. 6 months had passed since the arrival of the Galactic Council. Council harvester ships now hovered over Earth's richest resource deposits, systematically stripping the planet of rare minerals. Humanity watched in growing anger as their protests went ignored. Dr. Jin Suk stared at satellite images showing a vast emptiness where Mongolia's mineral-rich mountains once stood. The Council ships had reduced them to flat plains in just weeks. "They've taken enough," she said, her voice tight with anger. "We cannot let this continue." General Do Hyun nodded, grimly. "The diplomatic channels have failed. Yesterday they destroyed 3 of our monitoring satellites when we tried to document the environmental damage. Around the world, similar conversations were happening in secret bunkers and hidden facilities. Humanity had spent the months since first contact preparing, studying the aliens' technology from a distance and making plans. President Mireille called an emergency video conference with world leaders. Her face was etched with determination as she addressed them. "The Council believes we are weak and divided. They expect us to accept their theft of our resources without resistance. Today, we prove them wrong." Operation Hornet's Nest had been carefully planned. Small, fast ships built with Earth's best technology would challenge the Council harvesters directly. Not to win, no one expected that, but to show that humans would not surrender without a fight. Captain Sang-min commanded the lead vessel. His crew of 30 volunteers knew the mission was dangerous, possibly suicidal. But as their ship rose through the atmosphere toward the massive Council harvester above the Pacific Ocean, not one showed fear. "Remember," Sang-min told his crew, "we need to gather as much data as possible before they respond. Every second counts." The small fleet of Earth ships approached the harvester, broadcasting a simple message on all frequencies. "This is Earth, Defense Force. You are stealing resources from a sovereign world. Cease operations immediately." For several minutes, nothing happened. The harvester continued its work, seemingly ignoring the human ships that now circled it like angry bees around a bear. Then, without warning, the harvester's surface shifted. Panels slid aside, revealing weapons unlike anything humans had seen before. Beams of concentrated energy lashed out, slicing through 3 Earth ships instantly. "Evasive maneuvers," Sang-min shouted, but it was too late. His ship shuddered as a beam struck its engine section. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. "All ships, gather what data you can and retreat," he ordered, fighting to keep his damaged vessel stable. "We've made our point." But the Council wasn't finished. More energy beams fired, methodically destroying the retreating Earth ships. As his ship began to break apart around him, Sang-min sent one final message to Earth. "They may have the stars, but we have the fury of a species that will not kneel." The message, broadcast worldwide, became Earth's battle cry. The destruction of the fleet didn't break humanity's spirit, it united them as never before. In underground facilities across the globe, scientists worked day and night analyzing the data the doomed fleet had gathered. Each ship had been equipped with advanced sensors specifically designed to study Council technology during the brief confrontation. "They sacrificed themselves to give us this," Dr. Jin Suk told her team as they examined the data. "We won't waste it." The Council, meanwhile, seemed barely to notice the attack. Their harvesters continued their work without pause, their superiority so complete that human resistance appeared futile. But they had made a critical mistake. They had judged humanity by their technology alone, not understanding that throughout history humans had overcome superior forces through innovation and sheer determination. 2 weeks after the failed attack, a breakthrough came. A young engineer named Hye Jin discovered a pattern in the Council's energy weapons, a split-second vulnerability in the firing sequence. It wasn't much, but it was a start. General Do Hyun established a global resistance network, sharing information between scientists and military leaders worldwide. Traditional rivalries between nations dissolved in the face of the common threat. In hidden factories, workers built new weapons based on the data gathered. These weren't copies of Council technology. Humans couldn't match that yet, but hybrid. Designs that used Earth technology in ways the aliens might not expect. President Mireille addressed her people with quiet confidence. "We have lost the first battle, but not the war. The Council believes us defeated and docile. Let them think that, while we prepare." Across Earth, humans mourned their fallen heroes and readied themselves for what was to come. The attack had failed, but it had achieved something vital. It had transformed fear into determination. The spark of resistance had been lit, and from it a flame was growing that would soon burn bright enough for the entire galaxy to see. The Council, in their arrogance, had awakened Earth's unrelenting fury, and they would soon learn just how dangerous that was. In the depths of a Council research vessel orbiting Earth, Counselor Nex studied human biological data with growing fascination. The tall, multi-limbed alien leaned closer to the holographic displays, his compound eyes reflecting the dancing lights of human DNA sequences. "These readings must be incorrect," he muttered to his assistant Ziv. "No species should function under these conditions." The data had been collected from the aftermath of the Council's attack on Sol's defense installation. Despite radiation, levels that would kill most galactic species, human survivors had continued fighting, evacuating their wounded and even mounting counterattacks. "I've verified the readings 3 times, responded Ziv, her tentacles manipulating the controls to bring up new images. "These humans require minimal recovery time after intense physical exertion. They can adapt to almost any environment on their planet. And this," she highlighted a neural pathway map, "shows their stress response actually improves performance temporarily." Nex clicked his mandibles in disbelief. "The Council has conquered 1,000 worlds. How did we miss these traits?" "We judged them by their technology alone," Ziv suggested. "A critical error." Meanwhile, deep beneath the mountains of what was once called Switzerland, humanity's resistance effort was taking shape. In a vast chamber carved from solid rock, Engineer Hajun worked with a team of scientists examining a damaged piece of Council technology, a shield generator recovered from debris after the orbital attack. "The power configuration is unlike anything we've seen," Hajun said, carefully probing the alien device. "But the underlying principles are not magical. They're just science we haven't discovered yet." For 3 days straight, he had worked without sleep, fueled by determination and the memory of his family and soul. When he finally made the breakthrough, it came not from trying to copy the alien technology, but from understanding its weaknesses. "They built this assuming certain universal constants," he explained to the team, "but they never accounted for how Earth-specific magnetic field might interact with their shields." Across the globe in hidden bunkers, similar breakthroughs were happening. In Lagos, chemist Subin had synthesized a compound that disrupted the aliens' neural networks, not deadly but disorienting to their senses. In Siberia, physicists had developed a method to detect Council cloaking technology by its subtle effects on light polarization. None of these advances matched the Council's technology directly. Instead, they exploited gaps in alien understanding, blind spots created by millennia of unchallenged supremacy. In a high-security facility beneath the Amazon rainforest, Colonel Yunji briefed the Unified Command on her most crucial discovery, the Council's tactical weakness. "They fight like they've never faced a real challenge," she explained, showing footage of Council responses to Earth's resistance. "Their tactics are perfect, textbook even, but entirely predictable." She displayed a series of simulations showing how Council forces always followed the same patterns, efficient but rigid like an algorithm rather than adaptive thinking. "They fight like machines," she concluded. "We fight like cornered wolves." Back on the Council vessel, Nex was reaching a troubling conclusion. He turned to Ziv with genuine concern in his alien features. "The High Council dismissed these humans because their technology is primitive. But look at their evolutionary history." He displayed Earth's violent past: ice ages, supervolcanoes, mass extinctions. Every species on their planet evolved through constant adaptation to catastrophe. Ziv studied the data. While our worlds have been stable for 50,000 years, allowing us to develop technology in peace, these humans evolved to survive chaos. Nex finished. Their greatest strength isn't technology, it's their resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. An alarm suddenly blared through the research vessel. Nex rushed to the command center where the ship's captain was receiving reports of simultaneous attacks on Council harvesters across Earth. "Impossible," the captain sputtered. "They have no weapons that could breach our shields." But the reports continued coming in. Human forces weren't attacking with superior firepower. They were using the planet itself against the invaders. In Australia, they had lured harvesters over fault lines, then triggered artificial earthquakes. In the Arctic, they had melted ice sheets under Council landing zones. In the Atlantic, they had somehow disrupted stabilizers with precisely calculated wave patterns. Nex watched the chaos unfolding on the monitors and understood what the rest of the Council did not. Humanity wasn't fighting a conventional war. They were fighting as they had always fought throughout their violent evolution, adapting, improvising, and turning apparent weaknesses into unexpected strengths. "Alert the High Council," he said gravely. "We severely underestimated these humans." The Council never anticipated an attack on 7 fronts simultaneously. For a species that had dominated the galaxy for 50,000 years, the idea that primitive humans could mount an effective resistance seemed absurd. This blind spot proved costly. Commander Jiwoo sat in the darkness of his stealth shuttle, watching the massive Council communication hub floating in Earth orbit. His team of 12 specialists had trained for months for this moment. Each wore adaptive camouflage suits reverse-engineered from recovered Council technology. "Remember," Jiwoo told his team quietly, "we have exactly 17 minutes before their security sweep detects us. Move fast. Stay silent." The shuttle drifted closer, using the debris field from destroyed Earth satellites as cover. When they were within range, Jiwoo gave the signal. The team launched themselves into space, using minimal thrust to avoid detection. As they glided toward the alien structure, at the same moment 5 other teams were approaching different Council installations across the solar system. And on Earth, the main assault was beginning. In his hidden command center beneath the ruins of New Delhi, cyber warfare expert Dae Sung watched as his global network of hackers launched their attack. For months, they had studied Council communications, inserting dormant code into their automated systems through seemingly minor security gaps. "Execute Operation Ghost Signal," Dae Sung ordered. Across the planet, thousands of hackers activated their programs simultaneously. The Council's highly automated defense systems began to malfunction. Defense turrets turned against their own ships. Navigation systems sent vessels on collision courses. Communication networks broadcast contradictory orders. In space, Jiwoo's team reached the communication hub. Using tools designed by Earth scientists, they bypassed the outer security and entered the massive structure. Inside, they moved with practiced precision through the alien corridors. "The central node should be 2 levels down," whispered Sunhai, the team's tech specialist. She had memorized the hub's layout from reconnaissance data gathered over months of observation. Meanwhile, Council forces were facing an unprecedented situation: chaos. Their rigid command structure, designed for efficient control of conquered worlds, couldn't adapt to simultaneous attacks across multiple systems. On Mars, where the Council had established a way station for their fleet, Commander Young-ho led a mixed force of human soldiers and representatives from 3 other species who had secretly allied with Earth. These were beings from worlds previously conquered by the Council, inspired by humanity's unexpected resistance. "The Council took our worlds because we fought alone," Young-ho told his diverse force. "Today we show them the power of unity." His forces seized the Mars station with minimal casualties, using Council overconfidence against them. The aliens had stationed only a skeleton crew, never expecting an attack so far from Earth. Back on the communication hub, Jiwoo's team reached the central node. Sunhai connected their device, a simple but elegant virus that would redirect council communications. "Upload complete," she announced. "We have control of their network for the next 6 hours." The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the solar system, council forces received false orders, contradicting information and emergency alerts. Some ships retreated to defensive positions that didn't need defending. Others moved to attack phantom enemies. On Council homeworld, Primaris High Counselor Vex received the unthinkable news. Humans had not only broken through their defenses, but had also sparked rebellion among a dozen subjugated races. "Impossible," he whispered, watching the tactical display as system after system went dark. His aide, a nervous junior counselor, approached with more bad news. "The humans aren't using conventional warfare. They're turning our own systems against us, and they've transmitted our suppression protocols to every world in the council." Vex froze. Those protocols, the methods they used to keep conquered species compliant, were the council's most closely guarded secret. "How?" he demanded. The aide's multiple limbs trembled. "They understand us better than we understand them." On Earth, Daesung received Jiwoo's confirmation signal. The plan had worked. The council's perfect record of conquest was broken. Humanity's unexpected counterattack had succeeded not through superior technology or numbers, but through the uniquely human traits the council had dismissed: adaptability, creativity, and the fierce desire for freedom that could unite even former enemies against a common threat. The real war was just beginning, but for the first time, the outcome wasn't certain. And uncertainty was something the Galactic Council had never learned to handle. The main chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the doors swung open. Walking confidently through the center aisle came a small delegation of humans led by Ambassador Tae-ho, now bearing scars from the orbital attack on Geneva. The vast chamber housed representatives from 300 worlds. Many had never seen a human before. They stared at the small group of bipeds who had somehow brought the mighty council to its knees. "You were not summoned," sputtered High Counselor Vex from his elevated position at the center of the chamber. "We invited ourselves," Tae-ho replied, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. "Earth does not request a seat at this council. We demand it." Behind the human delegation stood representatives of 7 formerly subjugated species, their postures straight and proud for the first time in generations. Among them were the insectoid Arix, whose homeworld had been strip-mined centuries ago, and the crystalline Mori, whose people had been reduced to servants. The council chamber erupted in angry shouts and protests. Vex raised his limbs for silence. "You have caused unprecedented disruption," Vex said coldly. "Your primitive rebellion will be crushed. The council has stood for 50,000 years. It will not be threatened by creatures barely able to leave their own atmosphere." Tae-ho smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "You misunderstand our purpose here today," he said. "We are not threatening you. We are informing you of what has already happened." With a nod to his team, the chamber's main display activated. It showed council worlds across the galaxy where the carefully maintained order had collapsed. On planet after planet, the formerly subjugated species had risen up, using tactics learned from humans. 3 days ago, we transmitted the truth to every world under council control, explained Dr. Sujin, stepping forward beside Tae-ho. "We showed them how you maintain control through fear rather than superior power. We showed them how to resist." Counselor Nex, who had studied humans more carefully than his peers, moved to the center of the chamber. "How did you manage this?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. "Our communications network is secure." Young engineer Hyejin stepped forward. "You built your network assuming certain universal constants," she explained, "but you never accounted for quantum entanglement principles discovered by Earth scientists just before your arrival." The council members looked at each other in confusion. How could these primitives have made discoveries the council had missed? "The old hierarchy ends today," continued Tae-ho. "A new galactic charter begins, one founded on mutual respect rather than domination." "You speak of mutual respect while forcing your way into our chamber," demanded a counselor from the back. "We learned diplomacy from you," replied Teho calmly. "When we extended our hand in peace, you chose domination. We are simply speaking a language you understand." General Do-hyun, standing at the rear of the human delegation, stepped forward with a small device. "This contains the access codes to all Council military systems," he explained. "We could have used them to destroy your fleets. Instead, we've chosen to meet you here." The Council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. The humans could have chosen destruction, but were offering a path to peace. From his elevated position, Vex surveyed the determined faces before him. Understanding finally dawned. The Council had conquered 1,000 worlds with superior technology, but they had never before encountered a species forged in Earth's unique crucible. A planet where life had always been a struggle for survival, creating beings who turned desperation into their greatest strength. "What are your terms?" Vex asked finally. "Equal representation for all species," answered Teho. "An end to resource theft, reparations for damaged worlds, and a new council charter that values diversity rather than conformity." For long moments, Vex considered. The old ways had served the council for 50,000 years, but they had never faced a challenge like humanity, a species that had united the galaxy against them not through conquest, but through inspiration. Slowly, deliberately, Vex descended from his elevated platform. He crossed the chamber until he stood directly before Teho. Then he extended his limb in the human gesture of greeting he had dismissed years earlier. "Perhaps," Vex said quietly, "there is something we can learn from Earth after all." Teho clasped the offered limb firmly, and history shifted on its axis. Throughout the galaxy, beings of 1,000 different forms watched the broadcast of this meeting. For many, it was their first glimpse of the strange creatures called humans, physically unimpressive, technologically behind, yet possessing an unrelenting fury that had shaken the foundations of a galactic empire. And in that moment, a new order was born.